These are the
This
jokes,
hearing.
folks.
All right, man. I'm ready when you are.
Oh,
Yep.
shut up, then.
What are you going to say?
This hearing, they go for 30 minutes, they take an hour break, and then they go for another 30 minutes, take another hour break. That's how they work in Washington.
They don't work in Washington. That's a problem. Unbelievable. All right, ready?
Yeah.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
Hey, folks, welcome to another edition of Firing Line Radio Show. And what a week we've had here, huh? I mean, for those of you who've been in a gopher hole, living under a rock, at night, without a full moon, like producer Dan here, this has been quite a political week. And as we are recording this, the hearings are going on in Washington. Hopefully, this decent man, Kavanaugh, I'm going to go on the record saying I think he's a decent man. He's going to be put on the Supreme Court because, frankly, we need another solid one. If you look, all this political hoo-ha is the left, the progressives doing anything they can to maintain a chance of control of the Supreme Court. So, you know, I heard this just before I got in here to record today. I heard, what's her name, Balsy Ford, I forget her first name. Anyway, this Dr. Ford, she was saying that her friends kept telling her, some beach friends, some friends, this is political activism 101, and all they want to do is sow enough doubt. You'll probably hear some of the senators coming on saying that you can't confirm Kavanaugh unless you have less than a shadow of a doubt. No, that's a criminal conviction standard, not a Senate standard. So anyway, I hope we get this straightened out because the Second Amendment, folks, needs some help on the Supreme Court. It can use all the help it can get, and frankly, we need a ton of it because we had Sotomayor and Kagan put on, the last president put those two on. They're rabid leftists, anti-Second Amendments, and we need some help on the right-hand side of this, folks. So, joining me today, yeah, enough of that stuff. We're going to throw that political stuff right out the window, right, Mark? Joining me today, folks, I have Mark Boardman, who had nothing to do with my commentary at the beginning of this show. He is an innocent bystander, like a train wreck. He just watched it go by. He's an innocent bystander. He is the marketing director of a wonderful company that I've been associated with for many years now and been very, very proud to be associated with for many, many years. And that's Vortex Optics. Mark, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Philip. You know, and I guess I'm probably one of those guys that's been under a rock. I've been out in the Alaska bush for much of the first part of September, and other than that, just, you know, at my desk and
now you're bragging.
Doing family stuff.
Now you're just bragging. So what were you doing in Alaska?
Well, I'm speaking to my living under a rockness, which actually, just hearing what you described, I'm really okay not knowing about it.
No kidding, right? What were you doing in Alaska?
I went up there with some buddies, and we chased moose around for about 10 days, and it was a really good time. And you know, I mean, I don't know if you've been up there or not. I think you have, but it's definitely one of the cool. It seems like no matter where you go up there, it's one of the coolest places in the world. So I really enjoy it up there.
I haven't been there yet. Tell us a little bit about your hunt.
Man, good hunt. Like I said, my buddies have been up there several times, so they had it pretty dialed. So it was just beautiful country. Was able to connect with a moose, and we knocked a few other bulls down as well, and super optics intensive. It was actually you know, I think a lot of times when people think of moose hunting, you don't think of, you know, a really optics intensive hunt, but it really was. I mean, we spent our days glassing across canyons, you know, moving to, you know, various spots and really putting our optics to work on tripods and breaking out the spotting scopes. And really where we were at, like I said, I think, you know, I mean, even myself, you think moose hunting, you think, oh, you know, short range, brushy, maybe you're drifting a river and, you know, come around a bend and there one is. And this was, which is oftentimes how it is, but this was very different than that. So, I mean, if you or we saw a bull and it was something we thought we were able to get on, there's fairly long-range shooting. You're generally shooting across a canyon into small openings where these bulls would come out, and so yeah, overall it's just it was an awesome hunt, and definitely put the optics to the test. We found lots of moose, and ended up filling 5 out of 6 tags, which was just phenomenal, and it was a good time. So
For
a lot of meat packing.
Yeah, that's for sure. For a do-it-yourself hunt, 5 out of 6 is an amazing rate there.
It is, and like I said, the guys I went with, I mean, I owe it all to them. I mean, they put in the legwork and had the history with the area, and which is really, that was definitely necessary if you wanted to, go in there and be successful, at least at, the level that we were. Like I said, super fortunate, super blessed.
It's always who you know, man. It's always who you know.
Yeah, definitely comes down to it.
So let me ask you this question. The gun goes off. You do the hard work. You climb the hill. You've glassed. You've identified the animal, and they're in such brushy stuff. They're kind of moving, right? They're like a black dot that goes between this bush and that bush, and mostly in the shadows. Not exactly out in the middle of a sagebrush plain like a pronghorn. So you dial in your shot. You take it. You've hit the animal. Everybody's high-fiving, and now you just realize how much work you have ahead of you. When does that sink in, the realization on that?
So, it really sinks in, when you finally work your way over it and get to the animal, and you're standing over it, and you can see the scale of these things, and their size really, it's difficult to comprehend. I mean, I've seen, watched tons of TV shows, and you see pictures of moose, but until you're actually standing up close to one, it's tough to fathom, and like that starts to sink in. But luckily, this is a vehicle-based hunt, so those guys, a couple of the guys that were on the hunt drove up, so we had wheelers, so we'd get the wheelers, as close as we could, and then, to try and mitigate,
hump it from there.
Packing, as far as you might have to if you were just, strictly on your back, and frankly, without those, you'd be in a tough spot. I mean, it's doable, and they've done it before that way, but it's nice to be able to cut some of that distance off. That's for sure.
And you didn't shoot yours in the water, did you?
I didn't. No, it was on an opposite canyon, or canyon wall, I guess. Just a little opening in the birches. And we bombed down the hill. We were able to set up for the shot, and definitely, like you said, dial in. It was a longer shot. Actually, it's the longest shot I've ever taken. At a game animal. We ranged him at 733 yards and got down and was able to execute the shot and dropped it right in the pocket, and he ran 20 yards and tipped over. So it couldn't have worked out better.
That is a heck of a shot. What caliber are you using?
So I actually ended
Don't
up...
tell me a 6.5 Creedmoor, okay?
Not this time, although I do love that cartridge.
It's a great target gun, not for moose.
Yes, I had my 300 short mag up there, and then kind of when everything went down, I'll try and shorten the story as much. But I ended up grabbing my buddy's 300 Ultra Mag, and he had a Viper HSLR 6-24 on it, and it just I knew it was an accurate gun, and like I said,
that's a great combo. I
worked out.
I actually have that exact combo, except last year I upgraded from my HST to the PST2 5-25.
Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Not a bad move, I'll tell you that. So, hey, thanks for joining me on the show here. We'll get right to it here. You're part of a series. For those of you who've been listening the last several weeks, it's been kind of fun. What we tried to do is set up a series for people who maybe have their first hunting rifle, maybe they got a gifted rifle, somebody bought them something, or they only had X number of dollars, so they wanted to start shooting, so they got into something, and now they're like, what's the next step? They have a nice entry-level rifle, but they're at the point where they realize there's more to shooting than just buying something off the shelf and sending one box of ammo down the range. They want to fix things. So we've had specialists on for different areas. We had Timney Triggers come, and Kevin T-Bone was on that show, kind of a funny guy. We had Timney Triggers talk about the triggers, what that does. We had Proof Research Barrels come. I mean, you've obviously seen some of their barrels. They're pretty amazing stuff. We had Jim Gruning, one of the best gunsmiths in the area. He came out, talked about modifications and how important things are. And then it doesn't do us any good, though, if we have a wonderful trigger, a beautiful barrel, Great gunsmithing done, Macmillan stock. But if our optics are substandard, you just wasted all of your time and all of your money. And so I think I always say this, one of the easiest fixes for improving your rifle is a new trigger or switching out a barrel or some gunsmithing work or optics. All of these work, but optics is so important because, as you just said, looking for a moose, which stands 8.5 to 9 feet at the shoulder, is black. You would think that they stand out, but in shadows, in between trees, it's amazing how something that size can actually stay hidden, and optics is really a key to that. So I'm going to give you 20 seconds here to wrap up why Vortex, and then we'll talk about specifics.
Yeah, I mean, so, if you're talking optics in general, one thing I think we do a really great job at is having, optics that can fit just about anybody's need or price point, and so you're talking about a good, better, best, or, we often call our, categorize our stuff as a better, best.
Right. And bang for the buck. And that's what you're getting here. Folks, this is Philip Naiman, Firing Line Radio Show. We'll be right back with Mark Boardman, Vortex Optics. That wasn't fair of me. I ran you out of town. I ran you out of time. We'll be right back after this. I ran you out of town, too. Huh?
All right.
All right, one's in the can, Mark. We'll get you back to work pretty soon here.
No, we're good, man. We're good.